This
in this
conference
particular,
will now be recorded.
if you're working in this particular, whether you're a QA or a developer or you're from the DevOps background, it would be easy for me to, while giving the examples and all that. So you can just send me the message privately also. It's like where you're working and all that. That's fine. If you don't want to, like, it's direct also, it's not a fine, not a problem. Okay, so what we are going to discuss today is, let me just tell me if you could see my screen so that I can start. Okay. So today we'll be discussing, like, already yesterday in the demo, if you all everyone has attended, we have looked into different kind of what is a cloud and what is that like advantages when we move over the business to the cloud, and like why we need to learn the cloud computing. All these kind of things we have seen like yesterday class. So today we'll go into some of the different examples of like what are the different kind of clouds, like rather than the public and private and all that. We'll also look into other things like what kind of different cloud computings are there. So from here we'll start and we'll go into AWS, and in the AWS we'll look into like today we'll just start with basic compute and we'll start from here. Okay, thanks. So let's start with this. So there are different kind of cloud computings. Actually, uh, if you already know this, like there is something called infrastructure as a service and platform as a service and all these things. So first going into the cloud itself, first you'll choose some kind of cloud. It is AWS or Azure or anything. After that, you'll find few different kind of cloud computings. So if you firstly take infrastructure as a service, it's like the cloud gives you everything. It gives you a building blocks for building the IT, like it gives you the networking, computing, data storage and all these things, and you'll have the flexibility in choosing that. So if you go to this kind of model, you'll take that, you'll go to a cloud, you'll take some kind of server. On the top of server, you'll start building anything, like whether you want to build a web server or a database server or anything, you'll start from this. So this kind of cloud computing is called infrastructure as a service, where infrastructure is given you as a service from the cloud vendor itself. So this is one kind. And if you come to the different thing that is called platform as a service, so in this, it will remove your organization to manage underlying infrastructure. You don't manage the, like you need not create a server and on the top of it you start creating whatever you want to have. So it removes all these things and directly focuses you to create something. So if you take an example, infrastructure as a code is, you go to AWS console, you create a server, like it could be a VM for you, virtual machine we call it as. So anytime you see a VM, we call it as a virtual machine. So this could be like you start creating a virtual machine. On the top of it, you can do anything, like you take underlying basic virtual machine and you start installing your applications. Okay, this is one thing. So for example, in the infrastructure as a cloud, if you want to create a database, let's suppose you need to create a VM first. After that, you need to install a package which is associated to the database. Then this should be a DB server. Okay, this is what infrastructure as a code gives you. So it takes care of all the networking. At least you need to spin up in a different subnet. At least at that level, it will take care. But underlying, it's only a fundamental proxy in the IT. We call it as. Whenever we talk about platform as a service, it's something more better than the infrastructure as a service. Like if you talk about platform as a service, then it would be like you take, for example, if you want to create a DB server in the platform as a service. So now you directly take what AWS is giving you, that is RDS. So RDS is called the Relational Database Service. You go there, you directly create a database. So this is what we do instead of creating a service. So here you don't create a server creating a VM, and on the top of it you don't create a server. So that's the reason we call it as platform as a service. You just take the platform whatever you want. It could be a DB service, or it could be an uh, elastic cache, or it could be anything. So in this way, you will directly utilize what cloud gives you. Like many of the AWS services are the platform as a services kind of thing. Okay, we'll look into that. And finally, you have something called software as a service. So it is a complete product is run and managed by the service vendor itself. So if you look what is a software as a service, the currently the one that I'm using, that is a slides, which is from the Google Slides, right? This is software. I don't, it Google is directly giving me this software and I'm utilizing this. And the same thing like Gmail. So you just take a Gmail that is a software and you try it to use a to send the mails and all that, and even Zoom or anything like the GoToMeeting that we are using, it's called a software as a service. So we have it three kind of totally. One is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So if you see, the difference is like this. So in a normal on-premise setup, you need to take care of everything. You need to take care of networking, storage, servers, virtualization, the operating system that you want to install, and the applications that you want to install on that. Everything you take care in the on-premise. And if you go to infrastructure as a service, like infrastructure as a client a service kind of model, then you see that you'll not take care of these things. Like for example, this will be take care from the AWS, networking, storage, and servers and virtualization. All these things will be taken care from the AWS itself. And this part, the applications, data, runtime, and all these things you need to take care. So that is the reason I told you you need to take a VM, which is these things. And on the top of it, and you also need to decide OS also, like whether it is a Linux or Windows or whatever. On that, again, you need to install the application that is a DB. Then it becomes a DB server. When we talk about infrastructure as a service model, now we have a platform as a service, as I told you. You have data and you have applications. So here in this, let's suppose you have a Java application or something like front end is there, and you want a backend or you want to connect this application directly. Like let's suppose you have application itself instead of the front end, and you want to connect to this one to a DB. Okay. Now you directly go to the AWS, create a DB for you. You don't do all this stuff. You directly create a database from the front end and you attach it to the application. So that's the reason we call it as platform as a service. So I'll show you that later in the console. And if you see, these are all the things AWS will manage for you. So it will take what is the OS which on which the DB is running, and what is the virtualization, how these backups are taken, what is the storage, and all these things AWS will take care. Only these two things you care about. You put the data in the database and you attach the applications to the database. And finally, you have something called software as a service. So as I told you, if you're using a Gmail or Zoom or GoToMeeting or something, you don't do anything. You directly log into the application and we start using it. So you're using software directly. So that's the reason we call it as software as a service. So these are the three very popular models, like you need to understand. So there are three of them, like infrastructure, platform, as SaaS. So now if I give you an example, you need to tell like somewhere you can understand where you can exactly put. Like for example, if there is an Elasticsearch in AWS, you just want to have an Elasticsearch or something that comes under the platform as service. So where you directly like start Elasticsearch and your application will consume that. Okay, now let's see, yeah, examples as I already told you. So if you see infrastructure as service on the AWS, I'm talking about virtual machine, right? The virtual machine on the AWS is called EC2. So whenever you think in the AWS, if you see virtual machine, which is a basic thing where you start installing anything or where you start running any of your applications, this is called EC2. We call it as. So it's an elastic compute cloud. That is an example for infrastructure as a code. So here instead of the VM now, you take a EC2 and on the top of EC2, you start installing anything on the AWS platform. And even the GCP and all these things are infrastructure service again. So in the end, it's only like this is a symbol for EC2. It's a server you just take and on the top of it you install anything. So many of the cases we use infrastructure as a service. Like even for example, if you want to run the Docker containers, first you will take a virtual machine. In that you will install the Docker and you will start running the Docker containers. So we use EC2 as it's a very fundamental unit in the AWS. Next, we'll go into platform as a service. And if you see, one is Elastic Beanstalk is one of the example. You need not understand this, but in the same way, RDS is also a platform as a service where you just create a database and use it. And all these platforms like Google, GCP or Azure or Heroku gives you this particular platform as service. And finally, this one. So I told you Gmail and Dropbox and all these things are software as service. Even many AWS services like recognition. Like yesterday, we have seen this for filtering the content in social media kind of website, right? So this is also one of the where you directly pick up the software and you start using for your application and you pay for that. So quick review about AWS since we are discussing about this. We have it the three kind of pricing. Like firstly you pay as you go. Like you just take a service. If you use the service, you pay. If not, if you don't pay it. So if you create a EC2 instance, you pay as it is running. Like if you turn that off, you don't pay anything. So firstly, you pay for the compute time, like how much amount of time you have ran for that particular server and all that. And you pay for the storage also. Let's suppose you have a server with 10 gigs of storage, then you pay for that 10 gigs. And if it is 20, you pay for 20, something like that. And you pay for like data transfer out of the cloud is being charged. Like something, if it is going out of the AWS, you need to pay for that. And if it is coming into the AWS and into your network and application stack, it's free. So much of these solves the traditional IT issue, like where you purchase all these things and you don't use them. And now let's see some AWS cloud history. Firstly, it started in the 2002, and the first service they came like publicly launching is SQS, like Q service we call it as. And the 2006, it's mainly with EC2 and S3 and all these things came up. And now if you can see, all these companies are using this AWS cloud and they're leveraging complete AWS cloud for their applications to run. And as I told you, according to the market, AWS is standing atop. Even in the 2022, it's the latest one. So this is here, and you can see where the Microsoft and other things are competing. So that's the reason AWS is currently trending in the market, and everyone is trying to move into the AWS itself. And these are all the use cases the companies that uses. Like all these companies are using the AWS and all that. They can use for enterprise IT, backup and web hosting, mobile applications, social apps and gaming and all that. So now let's see the AWS infrastructure first, and let's go into the AWS. So if you see, this is a AWS global infrastructure, like they're hosting their infrastructure all over the world. That's the reason it's a good thing to host your applications or move to the AWS cloud. So if I just go to this site, so if you have any doubts, you can just stop me at any time and you can ask me. It's not a problem. So if you see, this is a AWS global infrastructure. They have their data centers in all the locations or all the places. So like whenever you talk about the AWS data centers and infrastructure, we'll talk about these things. One is how many like launched regions. Like AWS will launch their their data centers in every regions. So if you see, there are totally 25 launched regions. So if you come to look into the what are the regions that are there, so these are the regions where AWS infrastructure is set up. So in India, you have in the Mumbai, and they're trying to set up in the Hyderabad too. And if you see, in like every region if you take the North America, you have in US East and US West also. And if you see, it's in the Singapore here, and in the Tokyo also they have got in Japan and all these things. So you can launch your infrastructure anywhere. Let's suppose you have the requirement where you need to cater the Indians itself. So you have a particular app, only Indians will be using that, and you want to run the complete applications, and even you want to have your websites and everything in the Indian data center itself. Then you need to choose a region called Mumbai. So firstly, you'll come to the AWS console. This is a console. So if I log in, so if I just give me credentials, like firstly, you need to go. Let me open another tab. Okay, if you want to log into the AWS, you need to type console.aws.amazon.com. So this is a website which will redirect to the AWS console. If you're not logged in, it will ask you the login. Like, let me just show you. So we'll discuss the regions part and we'll come to the how do you create an account and all these things. So this is the website that you need to first log in. So here you'll ask about root user and IAM user. I'll tell you this in few minutes. What is your root and what is IAM and how do you log into that? So before that, let me just complete the infrastructure part. So as I told you, you have a different regions, and based on your requirement, you need to put in one particular region. And if I come here, so if I log in, this is the console I get. And if you see, these are the regions like North Virginia, Ohio. And if you come down, there is something called Asia Pacific Mumbai, AP South 1. So if I click this one, it will directly go to the region which is associated to that. So why region is very important and why you can't switch the regions when you have, so you can have your workloads and applications running in different regions. So you can go to the US and I can have there, but generally there are some kind of services which are region specific. There are some kind of services which are global one. We need to look into that one also. So these are about regions. So you have a different regions and you need to switch the regions from here. So whatever you see here, and this is account details. So once I'm logged in, this is my username and this is my account ID. So everyone will have a unique ID, unique account name. I'll tell you about those things once you're creating the account. And next is, so you'll have the regions, different kind of regions. And next is you'll have the different kind of availability zones in the region. So the region is on the global level, like you can have a region in Mumbai, you can have a region in Hyderabad. And when you talk about availability zones, it's like the data centers in different places in one particular region. So if you're familiar with Hyderabad, geography about the Hyderabad, you can think Uppal can be one availability zone, High Tech City could be one availability zone, and Secunderabad could be one availability zone. So why they have segregated these availability zones is, for example, if there is some floods in one particular region and if something goes down in the data center, your application should not be down, like it should be always running. So then they will have the other availability zones where your application will be running. So in this way, firstly, they have the region, that is Hyderabad is a region, and you have availability zones. So every region can have like 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 6 availability zones. So based on that, you can have your workloads wherever you want. Like you can choose if you want your web application to run in High Tech City data center or something like that. But the naming convention would be something like this. For example, now you have selected Mumbai AP South 1, right? So if it is like Mumbai, AP South 1, this is the Mumbai region. So now you have something like this, South 1A, okay? And in the same way, you'll have South 1B and you'll have South 1C. So maybe you can just derive this, like you can understand it to, if it is Hyderabad, then this could be an high-tech city, this could be a Secunderabad, and this could be an Uppal. In this way, the naming convention will be. So you can have your workloads on different kind of availability zones. And we'll see that whenever you create a web application or something, it should be running on these availability zones in one particular region, so that even if one particular area is got some issue with the floods or any natural disasters, then your application won't be done, since it will not be a down, since it is serving from a different availability zone. So that's an importance of availability zones here. So let's look into that. And you also have actually first let's also see why you choose a region firstly. So what is one thing is, like your application will be very closer to the users who are catering that. Like if it is an application that only, like let's say take Swiggy app. So Swiggy app is something which is completely used by the Indians, and where they order the food and all that. So there is no point in running your application, the Swiggy app, somewhere in the data center in the USA, because the latency will be very high and it will be very slow. And like when you compare when you're running in the India itself. So that is one of the use case that you have. Another thing is compliance. Like if you see, every government has a certain kind of compliances. How do you deal with the data? So if you go to the European Union, they have a GDPR rules where you should not have the all the data which is there for particular Germany or France. They need to have the data in their data centers itself. They don't allow the data to be moved to different kind of locations like US or China or something. So then you need to choose a data center, a region which is close to that. And Germany can use the Frankfurt, and the France can also use, like you have a Dublin regions and different regions in the Europe where you can have the data. And it also depends upon the security of it, and you need to comply with the government data governance and all the legal requirements that are there. And one other thing is proximity, as I told you. Another thing is available services. So generally, almost all the services are available for almost all the applications, but there would be some regions where you'll have new features available immediately, and some regions those features comes a bit late. And finally, the pricing also differs. For example, it depends upon the different factors. So if you're choosing a data center in the Mumbai, it could be a costly when you compare with the US East one or something like that. This is about like what's advantages of the different regions and why do you need to choose a different region. And this is about availability zone, as I told you. So these are all the different three regions and where they have the data centers, and you can think like three different regions in a city, something like this. And each availability zone is like connected to the different availability zone, and they are maintained in a place where it's not floods prone and all that. Even though if it is separated, if there is some particular issue at one particular availability zone, your application should be running from other two without any issues. So that's the reason they are segregated like that. So that you can't see here. Like for example, you just choose here, but you can only choose available, like choose availability zone when you're trying to create any kind of server or something. Let's suppose you're trying to create a virtual server. So I'll quickly go to that part. I'll not explain these things. I'll come again to that. So just for showing you. So if I'm going to create a server, I'll again show you all these things, but I'm just showing you that only one part here. So this is the place where I select the availability zone. So if you see in the Mumbai region, you have 1A, 1B, 1C. So I'm just, for example, I'm trying to create a server and I want to choose it in 1A, I'll just choose it. And 1B, I'll choose it, something like this. So this will be done only at the level of like what you want to spin up the service itself. But at this level of the dashboard, you can't see all those things. So only that point I want to show you from there. And yeah, they are connected with the high bandwidth and low latency networking, all the availability zones in one particular region, and that's the reason your application will be very fast running in multi availability zones. And one more thing is edge locations. So edge locations are something very important, like it's a points of presence in different places of what AWS has. It's different from the regionals and all that. So it is used for delivering the content with the low latency. So it's like, let's suppose, again, you're using the Netflix, which is again catered for the Indian audience and all that. So if you see whenever you use a netflix.com or something, it will redirect you to the India if you're using in the India, and all the content should be something like the new web series that the people are watching here, the Hindi and Telugu movies and all that, right? So for that, what they do is they have an edge location where they cache the main website. So the main website could be sitting in US, the Netflix, but in India, when you're trying to open netflix.in, they try to cache all the content to nearby location. That's we call it edge location. And from there, you get all these kind of suggestions, which are Indian movies and Indian web series and all that. So based on the location, you need to cater the audience and all that, right? So for that, you need to have, we'll have something called edge locations, and we try to do the static content on the edge location so that the users from the nearby could be able to get the same kind of website. So it's also a kind of a small data center and the presence AWS will have. So if you want to take the current statistics, AWS is launched in 25 regions and 81 availability zone. And if you see, the edge locations are around 310. So there are 310 edge locations that you can use it. So that is about the AWS. So let's, yeah, there is finally, as I told you, there are some global services and there are regional services. So if you take IAM, IAM is a like once you create a account in the AWS account, you are called an like your root account, and later you create something called IAM account to all the guys who are if you are, if there are developers or QA guys, and if you want to give them the access to the AWS, you create IAM users. So this is a global service. So and one IAM user can switch into, for example, if you look into this particular example here, I am like the account that I'm using, I'm the IAM user. Okay, I'm not the root user. Okay, but I'm able to switch to any different region, and I'm able to create the infrastructure for that. So that's the reason it's a global kind of service. And the same way you have Route 53, it's a DNS service. The DNS service is also a global one, and you have a CloudFront and WAF and all these kind of examples are a global services. And if you see region scoped, that is availability zone scoped, the EC2 instance that we tried to create, the server that we tried to create is a region scoped. So where you need to choose which availability zone that you want to choose, like which particular in the region where you want to create also, you need to have the scope for this. And also at the region scope also, like for example, if I create an EC2 instance in Mumbai, and if I go to a US East one, I'll not see that particular EC2 instance. So again, I need to switch back to the Mumbai region and I need to see the EC2 instance. So in this way, whenever you talked about the region scoped, you need to switch to that particular region and you need to find the infrastructure in that region. That is not something wherever you can just see in different regions. So there is Elastic Bean, Lambda, all these are region scoped. So only in one region you spin up them and only in that region you'll see them. Okay, and there are certain kind of responsibilities that you need to take care. AWS gives you all the compute, storage, and database and everything. But what is the operating system that you use, and how do you use the networking, and what kind of applications that you run, and what kind of data integrity that you have, the customer data, all these things you like generally organizations or companies need to take care. AWS is responsible for these things, and customer is responsible for these things. So that's all. You also have the user acceptable policy that you need to look if you want to check it out. So quickly, we'll jump into this one. So firstly, I want everyone here to create an account, AWS account. And it would be firstly for creating an account, it won't charge you anything. And after that, all the services that we create in this course would be the free services. So it will not add any like billing for you. You can completely use it freely. So now if you come to the console.aws, so you can see that it will firstly give you these options, like how do you want to log in, or how do you, like if you want to create a new account. So what everyone needs to do here is you need to create a new account so that you can practice along with me. So firstly, if you click on this create a new account, I have already sent you the link in the chat, if you see. So here you need to give your details, like if you have like firstly you need to provide the ID that you want to log in and the password, like whatever the password that you want to choose. Okay, this could be your account name. This is optional. You can, or you can, okay. 385. Okay, so for your account, I'm just trying to give something here. Let me just, maybe I need to give an email ID which is not already there. But what it happens is once you have continued with this step, it will ask you the details about your debit or credit card, where you can just give your credit card details. It's not an issue. They don't charge anything for you. So once you have gave these details, then an account will be created for you. So you'll have two things. Once you have created an account, you will have your username as email ID. So whatever the email ID that you are having, like it is associated to that. And the password is what you have given, like whatever the password that you choose, it's a password. So this is a root account. Like what is the account that you log in, like the email ID and the password that you have, this is called a root account. So generally, once you again come to this console, if you go back and like when you have something called root user, so here you need to give the root user email ID that you have chosen and the password that you give. And so once you enter this, you won't see the screen exactly like this from here. It will tell you, instead of IAM user, it will tell you a root user or something like that. But this is a quick way to just create the account. So I want everyone here to just create this account and use the root credentials for the first login. Later, I'll tell you how do you create IAM user and what is an importance for it. So this is the first thing that you need to do. And let me know if someone is already created the account, and if they want to share the screen showing the root account, or if someone like wants to try it out in creating, you can do right away or after some time. And let's just explore different things. But I want you to create the account so that daily you can, while we are creating any services here, you can also create the same thing here. And there is a free tier account for the AWS. Like firstly, it won't show you whether it is a free tier or it is a premium account or something, anything like that. It won't be there. You just need to create an account. After that, while you are spinning up, creating any resources in the AWS, then it will give you what is a like free scope of that particular service that you want to use. So let's suppose you want to create an EC2 instance. It will tell you you have 750 hours running. So you can just think like this, like if you just take a calculator, let's suppose you have created one particular service and you have running for like complete 24/7, you are running that one particular server. Then you can think like totally 744 hours are there. So it means that you can take a single EC2 instance and you can run completely, like you can run some website here like completely for 1 year, and 12 months is free, right? So every month they will add 750 hours. So it means that every month you can simply run that without any issue, one particular EC2 instance. Let's suppose you're running two EC2 instances, only then it would be like only 372 hours will be there for one instance. So it means like two you're running, then it will divide for two. If you're running for the three, it will divide for three. So you need to see that you don't cross this. Like whenever you create an instance, you need to, if you're not using it, you can turn it off. So something like this. But even if you just leave running one particular instance for the whole month also, it's not a problem because they are giving 750 hours. So in the same way, for the different AWS services, you have different kind of free scope where you can just run that. So we look into that when we are discussing about a different service. For now, we'll just go to one particular service that is called AWS EC2, and let's try to see what is EC2 and all that. So before that, let me just show you the slides, what exactly EC2. And don't worry, I'll share you all these slides after the class so that you can again go through those things. So what is an EC2? This is the first service we'll discuss in the AWS. Now you are familiar with the regions, availability zones. If you have any doubts on the regions and availability zone, then you can just ask me. I'll again go back and explain to you. Or if you have any doubt in creating an AWS account also, you can just ask me. So is it fine? Can I continue with this, or do you have any doubts? I just want to take a pause here. Are you able to understand, or if I want to go a bit slow, or just tell me if you have any feedback also. Any doubts, anything related to the regions, availability zones? Okay, can I take that as this? No problem. Anyone? Yes or no? Any doubts? You can just do in the chat if you want. So I just want this to be a kind of interactive rather than just uh, completely me talking. Like if you have any doubts, you can just ask me, or if you, even in your current organization, if you're using this AWS and you're familiar with few things, if you think these are a kind of repetitive, it's not, because we need to start from here to cater everyone. Okay, thanks, Abira. Thanks for the thumbs up. So now let's look into this one. The first service that we want to look in the EC2 service, which is a very popular service in the AWS offering. And if you see what is the full form of the EC2, it's a Cloud, uh, Elastic Compute Cloud, and it is an infrastructure as a service, as we have discussed now. And generally it consists of these things. Firstly, it is used for renting the virtual machines, that is giving you the EC2, and for storing anything. Like let's suppose you have a laptop, and for storing anything you'll have a hard disk, right? In the same way, on these virtual machines, if you want to store anything, we'll call them as EBS. So it's an elastic block storage. So for all the storing data, we'll have a virtual drives. It's called EBS. And for distributing load across different machines, we have something called elastic load balancer. So the load balancer is a component, as I told you yesterday, which will distribute the traffic to the different backends which is there. So here we have ELB. And finally, for scaling the services and all these things, we have auto scaling group. So each and every one is different topic, and it will take like complete a week to complete all these topics. So firstly, we'll discuss about EC2 and we'll go to different topics and we'll see how we can create the load balancers or auto scaling groups and all these things. So this is a symbol for EC2. Whenever you look into the architecture and if you want to look into the icon related to the EC2, this is a kind of icon you see for the EC2 instances. And next, you need to give the sizing and configuration for the EC2. Like for example, when you're trying to create an EC2 uh, instance here, and you need to give these details like what is an operating system that is related to that, and how much compute power you need to give, one CPU or two CPUs or something like that. This could be based on your application also, and how much RAM you need. This is the memory that you need, and how much amount of space that you need, the storage, and what is the the whether you want a public IP address or not. And there is one more component called a security group, which is a firewall rules, like what kind of incoming connections should come to an EC2 instance, and what kind of connections should go out of the EC2 instance and all this. And finally, you have a bootstrap. So whenever you think about EC2, you need to have these kind of things in place for creating any server. So bootstrap is nothing but creating some kind of automation so that once your instance is up, it should be already having certain packages or something. Let's suppose you want to create an EC2 instance with a web server. So if you want to automate that stuff, you can just add a shell script in this user data and it will create it for you. So once the instance is up and running, the shell script already take care, like during the boot up, it will install the web server and give you. So we'll look into all those things. So you'll have instance types. So instance type is nothing but the kind of combination that you take for the CPU and memory. When you choose an instance type called T2 micro, you get this one CPU and one memory, and which is again having the EBS storage and all these things. And you need to use in this course only T2 micro, which is a part of AWS free drive. So which has one CPU and one memory. You just need to use this one while creating the EC2 instance. So let's quickly create the EC2 instance and go with all these things along with that. So here I'll come to the AWS console. Okay. So when I log into the AWS console using the root credentials, this is the first screen that I see. And if you want to explore about the services and all these things, you need to click this one. And here you'll all the services are divided based on the usage, like analytics, data, like the machine learning or the game development, IoT, Internet of Things, and these things they're divided in this way. So the first thing that we are discussing about is the compute. So if you go here, there is something called compute. If you just click on this, it will give you all the things based on the compute. So in the compute also, we'll just go with the EC2 for now. So if I click on EC2, or if you don't want to navigate at that level by going to the service and compute and all that, you can directly go here to the search bar and you can type EC2. It will give you the EC2, the virtual servers that you create in the cloud. So this is as infrastructure as a cloud kind of one. And if I click this one, I'll get one particular dashboard. So this is a dashboard that I get. So where you can see if you're already having some instances running, it will tell these instances are already running. And if you don't have anything for the new accounts, you'll get these instances as 0. You don't find any of these instances. And one more thing, you need to stay with US East 1. So for this complete course, because it's for only kind of like since the account is created, everyone will redirect to the basic region is a US East 1. But if you look into the pricing also, this particular region is very less priced. So once you create an account, you'll defaultly go to the North Virginia. So let's take the US East 1 for this complete course itself. So this is a North Virginia region, and in this you'll have six availability zone. So 1A, and you'll have 1B, all these things. Still, this literally goes to till US 1E, I think so. 1E or 1F. So six or seven availability zones are there for this, and this is a region that we choose for this course. So once you come to this one, you'll have something options kind of thing called launch instance. I'll just create on launch instance here. So it will again give me two kind of options. One is launch instance and launch from the template. So I don't have any template now. I'll just go with the basic launch instance. So once you click the launch instance, you'll have 7 options you need to choose, like the 7 kind of like till review you need to go, and each and every particular page will give you the different options for configuring your server. So like if you take a normal example, like what a server needs, like then we'll see what exactly how you can create it. So you want an EC2 instance here. So this is a normal server. Okay. So for this, as I told you in the previous slide, I have shown you, you need these things. One is you decide the compute and memory. Okay. So this could be like one CPU and 1 GB of RAM. So this is the compute and memory. Next, you need the networking configuration, and after that you need like security. Like okay, before that you need an operating system. So this could be like Windows or Linux or Mac, any kind of operating system you can just imagine. Next, what you need networking, which will give you like where you want to spin it up. Like in this, you will have something called VPC. So this is nothing but a virtual private network. So we'll come to this later. We'll just take the default one. But every time you want to spin up something, you'll also need to choose a networking part where you need to choose VPC, where you need to choose the subnets, etc. So these are the things that you need to choose while you are creating an EC2 instance. These are all the things. And another thing is security groups. So security groups is nothing but firewall for your EC2 instance. So okay, you can just tell like I want to open port 80, or you can tell I want to open port 443 or something like this. You can just tell, and from where you want to open. So this is also, you need to mention the source also. So these kind of things there. And finally, you'll have tags and sorry, storage is also there, right? So storage, you need to select like 10 GB I want, or 20 GB that you want. You can just select the storage. And these are all the important things to create any server. So based on these things, we'll create an EC2 instance. Okay. So I'll just paste this in the chat so that it will be useful for you. Okay, let's come here. So firstly, you'll choose something called Amazon Mission Image. It is related to the operating system. So where if you click on whatever the image that you have, it comes with the already OS installed to you. So you can take that image and you can just run on the EC2 instance. So if you see, there is a different kind of, like if I go to the Windows here, you'll see the Windows based operating systems. You can just take this image if you want to have 2019 data center, or if you want to have something like Ubuntu. So then you have Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a Linux flavor. So in the Linux operating systems, you will have different flavors, like Ubuntu is one of the one, and Amazon Linux is one of the flavor, and Red Hat is one of that. And in the same way, in the Windows, you can generally, when you talk about Windows, you'll have Windows 2010, you'll have Windows Server 2016, something like this, right? In the Linux, when you talk about any operating system based on the Linux, you'll talk something like Ubuntu, Amazon Linux, Red Hat, and all these things. So here, you can, based on that, you can just choose whatever you want. If you come to the quick start here, you'll get, basically you'll get like Amazon Linux and Ubuntu based Linux. And if I just go here and go to the quick start again, it is just filtering based on Ubuntu. Let me clear. Yeah. So when you come to the quick start, you'll see something called Amazon Linux. You'll see the Mac OS based operating system. Here you have the Red Hat. Here you have the Ubuntu, and you have the Windows also. So you can choose whatever the operating system that you want. So first, let's try to choose one thing, and let's come to AMI again to understand the different things, like what is community AMIs and marketplace and all that. For here, I'm just choosing first thing, that is Amazon Linux, and you need to choose that wherever there is free tier available, only that instance you need to choose. So for this, you need to choose AMI, and you need to choose the one which is already free tier. Okay, this is the one. Next, you need to choose the instance type. So instance type is this one. So whenever you come to see what is an instance type, it is nothing but you're choosing the compute and memory. So there are different kind of instance types for different uses. Like you have different kind of families also. This one I'll tell you tomorrow, like what is the use of different kind of instance types. For today, you just need to go with the T2 micro. So where, because there is something called free tier available. So if you choose this, it will also give you the information that you will have up to 750 hours per each month. Okay, it's not that 750 hours per year, it's for every month you'll have 750 hours. So you just choose this free tier available. So click on configure the details, and this part is networking details. Like if you see the configure instance details, this comes to the networking. I'll not choose anything here, I'll just leave it as it is. We'll not go into the networking part for now. So I'll just go on to the storage. So here I need to add storage. Like this is coming with 8 gigs as a default. If you want to increase it to 10 gigs also is fine, but don't cross 30, because till 30 it's free. So you can see that free tier eligible customers can use up to 30 GB of the EBS general purpose SSD or a magnetic storage. So this is an SSD that you're choosing here. These types I'll come to that later, but you just choose whatever the default is given, that is 8 GB. Don't edit this one. Just you can just go with whatever it's there. So next you'll go to the tagging. Like almost all the resources you'll generally tag in the AWS. This is for a kind of identification. So or like it will be useful for if you want to run any search or something. Okay. For example, the tag could be name web server. Okay, and you can have like who is the cost center for this. Like for example, if the organizations will have the cost center in the companies, I can tell like Sandeep.gmail, like or your office, like whatever it is, like you'll just give that particular email ID, and you can tell like what is the department it is. Like it could be a dev or something like this. So this is used to identify what is an instance, who has created that. In the future when you are auditing or you want to filter all the web servers, something like this. Next, you'll create a security group. So this is nothing but the security group is a kind of firewall. So if you look, uh, let me just show you the slide. So we'll come to again instance type later. So this is a security group. So you have an EC2 instance here, you have a firewall here, and you'll determine what kind of traffic that you want to come for this EC2 instance. And this security group is a kind of entity that you can go on adding this security group to any kind of EC2 instances once you have created. So you have got a security group with certain rules. You can add it to EC2 instance and RDS database or anywhere. So these are like a attach and detach kind of modules. So it's a fundamental security, network security in the AWS, and it will determine what kind of traffic that you need to allow and all these things. And here it looks like this. You have an EC2 instance here. So if you want, like port 22 is a port on which you can SSH to any of the EC2 instance. And if you want to open the port 22, you'll go to the security group and you'll tell the port 22 to be opened from this particular source. And only like you need to define the source and from where you want to access that also. Let's see this. So you come here. So it could be a web server security group. You'll just name something like this so that you can use it for any other purpose also. And you'll tell like what kind of rules that you want to open. So you'll have incoming and outgoing, right? Generally, you need to configure the incoming here. So now you're telling firstly you need to choose a type what you want to open. So if it isn't, so it's based on the service. Let's suppose when you're dealing about security groups, if you are creating a web server, you want HTTP to be open, like that is port 80. Like anyone can go with something like this. So if your website is like Amazon.com, then you need to open, like if Amazon.com is running on the EC2 instance, then you need to open port 80 because this particular protocol is associated to the port 80. Let's suppose you want to have HTTPS open. So this would be 443 port. So now it will be like something like HTTPS and your website, like whatever the website is there, it will be like this. And if it is a database, so let's suppose you are running a MySQL here. So then it would be like 3306 port should be open. Or if an SSH. So SSH is something which is used to connect the EC2 instance. Like from your local Windows machine, if you want to connect the server, you'll use SSH protocol, that is 22 port. And if it is an FTP, it is 21 port. If it is a DNS, it is 53 port. So based on that, whatever the application that you are running on your this particular EC2 instance, these ports should be open. So for now, we'll have SSH here that is opened, and where I want to connect from. For example, if I give like this thing, if I go here and if I tell anywhere, so everyone in this the 10 people who are there in this class, they can just log into their missions and they can SSH into these instance using because I have opened the port 22. If I do something called my IP, then only I can log in into this. No one else can log into this. So this is a way you configure the security. So let's suppose HTTP is there. Like I want to run some web server in this. I want to open port 80, which is a TCP port that is HTTP, and this one from anywhere, so that anyone can access this one. So I'll tell incoming like HTTP for everyone or web server for everyone, and here I'll tell like SSH from my mission. So this is a rule. Generally, you put a rule and you tell the description so that if someone wants to add a same rules again to the security group, they'll know that what rule is associated to what kind of thing. Now, doing this, you'll quickly review and launch. So again, we'll do this tomorrow. We'll understand what is an AMI, what is an instance setup and all that. But for a quick creating and a service and showing you, I'm just creating an AMI and with all the details given here. If I click on the launch, I just need to firstly choose a key pair. So key pair is used to connect the instance. So if you see, like a key pair is required, and it's a kind of key that you use to connect the instance. So it's not a password based authentication. Okay. So generally, if you want to connect to any server, you need to have the username and password, right? So instead of the username and password, here you will have something called key pair. So this particular key pair is required. If it is already there with you, you can just choose the existing one. If you're creating a new one, you just need to create a new pair, and you can just give the name for that particular key pair and download that. So let's suppose it's an EC2 training. I'm just creating a new key pair. So I'll save this in my local mission. So it's going into the downloads, and I'll launch the instances. And this key pair you can share in your organization. You'll have few key pairs, and people will share these key pairs, or you can integrate the all these things to an Active Directory so that you need not even have the key pairs, where you can log into the Active Directory SSH also. So now we created this particular web server. If you see, it is still in the pending state. So once you create an any EC2 instance, if you click on that, you'll have the details mentioned here about that, like what is an instance ID. This is a unique ID which comes with every instance. So based on that, you can identify internally also with this unique ID. And you'll have a public IP address as a default. Since you haven't configured any of the networking components, this public IP address will be the default one. And this private IP address you'll get. And all these things like how do you connect this, all these things, the security groups that we just created, right? The port 22 is open from my mission, and the port 80 is open from everywhere. So if everything is fine, it comes to this running state. So this like you have this states like stopped, terminated, running. So if I terminate an instance, it goes into the terminated state. If the instance is running, then you'll see that there is a running instance or something like this. So if you want to stop this again, you can just go to the instance state and stop this instance. So if everything is fine and if it is running, then we can connect it. So before connecting, you need to have these two status checks up and running. So now everything is fine. I should be able to connect this instance. So I'll take this public IP. So I'll tell you tomorrow how do you connect it. I'm just showing here. I don't want to like deep dive into everything only on single day. So I'll just directly connect this and I'll show you how I'm doing this. Tomorrow I'll tell you if you're using a Mac, if you're using a Linux, if you're using a Windows, how you can connect to this particular instance. So don't worry about this. Again, I'll show you this tomorrow. I just want to quickly connect and show you. That is my whole intention here. So now you are connected to your EC2 instance. So in this way, you can create the instances, and these instances you can just create and you can connect to them like this. Okay, this is only the quick overview what we are doing. So tomorrow again we'll go into the individual things, like we have the slides related to what are the different kind of EC2 instance types, and how, like what are the different AMIs, and how do you connect from, like I just connected quickly, right? Tomorrow I'll show you how do you connect from your local missions. So I'll create one of the instance and I want every one of you to connect to that instance and look tomorrow. Okay, so that's all about today's class. So we have just looked into the very basics, like what is a dashboard and what are the different regions, what are the different availability zones, how do you create an account, and how do you spin up your first EC2 instance, like without not going much into the details. But this is something we do very regularly, like every day we'll be creating these instances or different kind of services that AWS requires. So once I don't want this, I'll just terminate this, or I can stop this also. Even stopping will not charge you anything. Okay. So I'll have a pause here, and if you have any doubts, you can just ask me. And as I told you, if you are already in particular organization working in one particular domain, you can just tell me. So based on that, I'll also make this course more easy for you. So I'll take up examples what you're like regularly you're looking into those examples. Okay. So yeah, that's all for the day. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me, or if you have any other questions, you can just ask me. Is it fine, or I should go a bit slow, or is it anything that I want to? Can you just give me the feedback also? Anyone? Okay, got. Uh, if someone is working in testing, that's fine. I will look into the examples based on that. So, is there anyone who is working on the databases, or who already is there anyone who are already DevOps in this class? Any doubts or anything, or do you want me to finish the class for today? Hello, are you able to hear me? Okay, then fine. I'll just stop this recording and we'll end the class today.
Sandeep, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. I just want to have the feedback from you guys.
Okay. So I've created the account. Do we like what's the expectation for the next tomorrow's class? Like, should the account be created already or?
Yeah, tomorrow I want you guys to create an account and come. So everyone should
Okay.
have an account. So we'll only, as I told you, we'll only go with the free tier, right? So
Right.
if you want, you
Okay.
can just try out what we have done today, like creating an EC2 instance if you want. But tomorrow I'll
Okay.
go into all the details of it.
Okay. Like I've created the account. What I'm concerned about is creating the instance.
Mhm.
So will we be doing it tomorrow together or?
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow together. Like everyone will create an account. Sorry, every one of us will create an EC2 instance, and someone of you can just share your screen, or if you have any doubts, or you can just share your public IP so that I can also connect from here and see. I'll show you how we can even connect the EC2 instances that you have created. So tomorrow it could be a kind of workshop kind of one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. That's all for me. Thank you.
Yeah. So till you get familiar, you all needs to do along with me. So once you get familiar with all the terminologies and using the dashboard and all that, so we'll take the things a little bit faster. So first 1 week you can expect the things are a bit slow for the people who already know this cloud and all that. Okay, any other doubts? Okay, bye for the day then. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.